welcome to another episode of Gamerheads. My name is Roger, aka Rogue Leader 76, and with me are my co-host Blue,
aka Writer's View,
and my co-host Christian,
aka Fulgen.
We have a jam-packed show for you today. We'll be talking about Crayola Scoot, so we'll give a review for that, and Lego DC Villains. We also will be talking about Rockstar's 100-hour work week. Elon Musk? Is that how you pronounce his name?
Yep,
Elon?
you got it. Elon.
He's buying Fortnite? What? And more on Puddlegate. But first, to get us into the Halloween spirit, I love October so much. What is your favorite TV series or movie that puts you into the Halloween mood?
Wow.
Go ahead, Christian. You can go first.
I can't think of a TV series, but as far as movies are concerned, I don't really like scary movies that much. So I would prefer...
Because your mom ruined you, right?
Yeah, because she did. Yeah, I can't do movies with jump scares now because I cry like a little baby. But as far as movies are concerned, I like to have movies that put me in the Halloween mood without having jump scares. And so the first couple Harry Potter movies are actually great for that. Because I've got some nostalgia wrapped up in those too.
And they usually run those like on Family Channel or something like that, right?
Yeah,
During Halloween?
exactly.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's cool. Yeah,
Puts me in the mood.
That's a good. Yeah, I agree. That's a good series. What about you, Blue?
I think that The Nightmare Before Christmas is always a perfect choice.
Yes.
Like, some people say it's a Christmas movie. I disagree. It's a Halloween movie.
It is. I agree.
Yes, thank you. And then, but I do really like scary movies. And so probably my top 3 scary movies in no particular order are Psycho, The Silence of the Lambs, and Misery.
Oh, yeah. I think I've only seen Misery. I have not seen the other two, only because
What?
I am like Christian, and I really don't like scary movies or scary games for that matter. I know. I love Halloween, but that.
Okay. Psycho is like cinema history, though.
Yeah, that's true.
For real.
I know. I need to watch it. You need to
at least see that one.
Yeah.
What
I
about
need
you,
to see
Christian?
Psycho
Have you
and
seen those? You
No,
haven't?
I have not seen Psycho. I need to see that and Citizen Kane.
Oh yeah, Citizen Kane.
Citizen Kane is so amazing. Okay,
Yeah, you haven't seen Citizen Kane?
No, unfortunately, I haven't.
Wow.
That's your guys' homework this month before Halloween. You must watch Psycho, and I will keep you accountable.
Okay, I will watch Psycho. Christian, maybe we can watch it together.
Yeah.
Yes, and then I will expect a full review.
Oh,
All right. Have either of you seen? Sorry, if we're talking about like favorite movies. Have you either of you seen The Bicycle Thief ever?
No.
Yes.
See, another good movie. Okay, yeah. Okay, okay. Blue, you are the epitome of like.
I'm
movie
cheating a little
critic,
bit
for sure.
because I went to film school, so I'm cheating.
Oh,
That's crazy.
I took a class in film.
There you go. That's along those lines.
Time to direct your first movie, Roger.
Yeah, it was actually a class on how to do storyboards and such. So
Interesting.
Oh,
yeah, so
Good for
I can
comic
see
book
that.
writing, I'd imagine.
Exactly.
Be useful.
Exactly.
Do you
And that's
write
actually,
comic books?
I do. I haven't written one in a while, but I do write comic books. Yeah.
Cool. I'd
Yeah.
love to read
So,
one sometime.
Well, I do have some published, so I can share that with you. All right. I would say, for my favorite Halloween TV series or movie, I would have to say the Castlevania series now on Netflix. I think that I know that's new, but man, that's so good. And I love Castlevania.
Nice.
And I think the new series is out now, or it's coming out soon. I think, right? Isn't it? It should be the new.
That sounds
the
right.
new
I
season.
remember hearing it was imminent.
Yeah.
And you've got the Rondo
So
of
I'm
Blood
excited.
and Symphony of the Night collection coming out on PS4 and Xbox One soon.
I know. Exciting, exciting. Man, I love Halloween. Uh, so, listeners, what is your favorite Halloween TV series or movie? You can send us a tweet. Oh, we didn't come up with our jingle, Christian.
Oh
Ah,
no. Dang it,
you guys
Roger.
had a
Yeah,
whole week to do that. Come
We did.
on. I'm so
Well,
disappointed.
Lazy.
I know we are lazy. Well, so here's the thing: Christian goes to bed at like 8:30,
Yeah.
and my life nearly doesn't start until after 8:30. So it's kind of hard to do anything.
Yeah.
But Christian, how can people get a hold of us on Twitter?
At Gamerheads PC.
Yes, or they can email us at
Info.com/GamerheadsPodcast.
and find us on Facebook at facebook.com/gamerheadspodcast as well. All right, so that was our icebreaker. Now let's go into our Gamerheads news. The very first thing that I have here is about Rockstar's 100-hour work week. So, in an interview with Dan Houser, he made an offhanded comment about working 100 hours a week during that crunch week to make the deadline for Red Dead 2. And he said it almost like was a tone of pride, of like, look how much we worked. Then it came out that only senior level employees were working 100-hour work weeks, and it wasn't mandatory. Then Rockstar actually lifted the NDA for their employees to talk about overtime, and it sounds like for the most part it wasn't mandatory overtime. But I guess the question still remains: do we have a problem where the culture makes it a norm to work long hours during crunch time?
It's a tough question, Roger. I feel like in the current zeitgeist, we're getting to a place where kind of the common perception is that crunch is a bad thing. Because I believe we've seen a handful of articles and maybe even books concerning the video game industry and how crunch is, by and large, the norm for video game development studios, especially those on the larger scale. And a lot of common folk have voiced their concern about having to work so like crazy, trying to hit these crazy deadlines, and in order to do so, we're working like nuts. But I think as far as this interview is concerned, I think it was just a little tone deaf on Dan Houser's part, because I believe after the fact he came out and said that it was just the writing team that was voluntarily working 100 hours a week or something like that.
Yeah.
And like you're saying, that the employees took to Twitter to voice their lack of concern for how much they worked. So yeah, I don't think it's as big of a deal as the initial headlines and articles made it out to be.
Yeah.
But I still think it was a pretty tone deaf statement on his part.
Yeah. What do you think, Blue?
Well, I don't think that there is probably an industry out there that doesn't experience crunch times.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you think about lawyers before a big case, or in the medical field, is always notorious for working residents, you know, so many hours. In film, it happens when you're trying to get a release. And so I don't think it's that unusual. Of course, it just depends on how is it accomplished. You know, like we're saying, is it mandatory or is it not? And I think coming fresh off all the controversy over at Telltale, people are pretty sensitive about it, and you know, wanting to make sure that the workers have been treated fairly in a company before they support that company's products. And so I think that's a good thing. But as you said, the workers were not concerned about it, and it was mainly the senior staff that was doing it. And so, you know, I don't think it's probably that unusual of a situation.
Yeah. And I mean, I don't think it's unusual. I think it's unfortunate though. Like, so I worked in several IT shops, and the very first IT shop I worked in, we had a really big project releasing, well, yeah, I'll just say it was healthcare reform. I was working on a project in regards to healthcare reform. I wasn't working on the government side, but I was working on a side that connected with the government's website. And we were working from 7 in the morning till 5 the next morning, and then sleeping for 2 hours and getting up and doing it all over again. and it
Jeez.
sucked. It was awful. I mean, seriously, like I think after that happened, after I mean that was in a span of like 3 or 4 days that we were. I mean, we were putting lots of hours before that, but during like the actual release, like that's what we were putting in. And after that happened, I started having sleep apnea. I never had sleep apnea before that, and I think something happened that broke and killed, like, almost killed me for real.
Jeez.
And so, I mean, I think it's a problem that if it becomes the norm, and I don't know. I mean, I'm lucky enough now that I work in an IT shop where they respect workplace, where they have work of family life balance. And I that's what I love about where I work now. But I mean, even in my second IT shop, we were behind schedule, and I would just get directions saying, "Well, work 14 hours a day." I mean, you have to get everything done. And in that case, it was they were just. I don't want to get into it too much, but they just, it was poorly planned. And I think that if you poorly plan things, I mean, things like that fall apart, and that's why you start working long hours. And like even in regards to like us launching for healthcare reform, I mean, it wasn't necessary. I mean, we could have waited another month after healthcare reform released and, not had to work those crazy hours that we did. So, I mean, I think you're right, Blue. I think it is like something that's standard. I mean, I shouldn't say standard, but like it's a norm across a lot of different fields. I just don't think that it's a good thing that if we just say, kind of shrug and say, okay, well, that's how it is, and it's unfortunate that I think that, I mean, Rockstar sounds like that wasn't an issue, but I mean, if you look at other games that are out there and other developers, I mean, you hear stories about how these developers are working long hours, and really, I don't know, how productive are you after working 14 hours? I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Probably not very.
That's
why
a
we
good
got to
point.
be. That's why we got to be happy with video game delays and welcome them,
Yeah.
because that means that the people working on the games have more time to work on them, and then they don't have to have these ridiculous work hours. Like Media Molecule is a commonly cited company as a development studio that does not practice crunch. But the result is that Dreams was announced like 6 years ago or whatever, and still has yet to come out.
Yeah. Yeah. And, yeah, and I think you're right, Christian. I think that as, consumers of the media, we have to be okay with that. And it's weird because I think there's a small fringe of people, I wouldn't say there's a lot of people, but I think there's a small fringe of people that then take to Twitter or take to social media right when a game gets delayed, and they like do really crazy things, like threaten like people that work on that project, or threaten the company. And that's just bizarre to me. Especially since, like, if you're not involved with the actual development of it, like, I know that you're going to consume it, but come on, like, just for people that have worked on that other side where we've worked 14 hours, or in my case 22 hours, like, just back off.
I think it is a sad fact of life sometimes that the loudest voices are the most fringe voices and the worst ones.
Yeah. So, yeah, well, I'm glad that it wasn't the norm, and it sounds like even after all this, like, Rockstar has now set policy where they have people say, if you want to work overtime, you're more than welcome to. We're not going to make it mandatory. So, all right. Next article here is Elon Musk jokingly tweeted about buying Fortnite and that he was going to delete it to save youth from the lifetime of virginity. What? So, like, he tweeted this out. Yeah, it was so crazy. He, like, made this article. He made it look like it was, like, I forgot what it was, Market World or something like that. I think it was Market World or Marketplace or something, where he made it look like it was an actual article, and he tweeted this out. It just as a joke. And then Fortnite, or Epic, tweeted back at him and said, how long has it been taking you to build that SpaceX or whatever he's building?
Oh, jeez.
So, yeah, it was, I don't know, it was just weird. It's weird to see, like, a pop culture game get into the realm of, someone like Musk, who, I mean, I'm assuming he has got a lot on his plate, but, a lot of people tweet that probably have a lot on their plate and they shouldn't be tweeting, and when they do so...
Yeah. I think Elon Musk has definitely been a proponent of that of late.
Yeah.
Just tweeting weird stuff like this, joking about buying Fortnite. That's strange. It kind of... I don't know, it almost feels like he's trying to feign relevance by just talking about Fortnite because everyone's playing it. And being like, oh, I don't like Fortnite because I'm going to buy it and get rid of it.
Yeah.
I don't understand the point of it, though.
Yeah,
it seems,
well...
I don't know, make a joke about Fortnite, but what are you trying to say by
Who
saying
knows?
I'm buying it and then I'm deleting it? I don't understand. They have your money, so... I don't know. If it's a joke, I don't get it at all.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, isn't he kind of like eccentric anyway? He's kind of like, I don't know. Yeah, he's an interesting person. Yeah, I'll say that. Yeah, I didn't get the joke either. I was just like, okay. But I think Christian, you're right. He probably was like, oh, hey, there's something that's about popularity and it's not about me. I better tweet about it.
Yeah.
He just checks the trending topics and says, what should I tweet about today?
Yeah, exactly. Little do you know that he plays Fortnite.
Wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah. And the last article I have here is in Puddlegate News. Dun 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 dun. New update of Spider-Man includes puddle stickers to place in the photo mode.
That is fun. That's amusing.
Good for them.
It.
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah, so I love how the fact that they can kind of like joke about it, right? And I mean, the game is hugely popular, so I'm assuming that that also plays in the part where they can kind of joke about how ridiculous that was when that came out about the puddles in Spider-Man. But yeah, I thought that was funny.
Mm-hmm.
Do either of you have any other news items?
I had something.
Yeah.
It involves Star Citizen. Have either of you heard of Star Citizen?
Yes, I have.
No.
Yeah. Have you, Blue?
No, what is it?
I'm not entirely sure what it is. It's some kind of like Kickstarter space flight simulator world thing.
Made by Elon Musk?
Oh.
No, it's not.
I wouldn't be surprised with how much money it's raking in.
Yeah, no kidding.
It's been like a Kickstarter, and I think they announced it, I don't know, like 5 or so years ago, like 2016 maybe? No, 2 years ago? I don't recall, but it feels like forever ago that they announced this Star Citizen thing, and then they put out like this playable thing that I think was just flying around. I don't know. I am completely detached from this whole like space flight simulator nostalgia, early 90s stuff, like TIE Fighter and space... What are they called?
Wing
Blue,
Commander?
you mentioned it once.
Wing Commander?
Wing Commander. Yeah, that's it.
Wing Commander's awesome, though.
Wing Commander is awesome.
But this Star Citizen is just like exploding and ballooning out of control because this thing has been in development forever, and they just keep on raking in money and opening up development studios because they had some trailer or something for the game mode that they want to put into Star Citizen, and they raked in a total of $195 million now. It's just insane.
Cow.
I just want them to put this thing out and just shut up already, or just keep on coming out with these trailers and making this Ponzi scheme where they just print money and sell ships for $800 that people can just fly around a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, that's not the big thing. Is that it's supposed to be like you just allow you to fly around space? I mean, I know a little bit about it, but like you're supposed to have these big space battles, right? Wasn't it supposed to be like a big, like almost like No Man's Sky, or what No Man's Sky could have been, or
probably?
Yeah,
I have no idea anymore. Like the messaging on this whole Star Citizen thing is so mixed and weird. Like, I have no idea what it even is anymore.
Yeah, it's weird.
Well, it better be the best thing
ever. Yeah, it's crazy
ever.
that they make that much money.
Yeah, for that much money, it better be the best game ever.
Yeah, no kidding, right? Can you imagine it has like Atari graphics or something? Like, there you go. And like, what is this?
Yikes.
Blue, do you have anything else?
Nope, I don't. Sorry.
It was a pretty slow week for... No, that's fine. It was a pretty slow week for news, so...
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
All right, well then let's go into the games that we're reviewing. So Christian, I'll let you start off. You reviewed Lego DC Villains.
Yes, I did. Lego DC Supervillains, out now on
Super
Nintendo
Villains,
Switch, PS4, and Xbox One, and PC. And it is $20 cheaper on PC, which is a new trend that they set a couple of Lego entries back, I think, which is fascinating to me. I find it interesting how the same game releases day and date on PC, but is $20 cheaper. And it's probably because of the user base that they're appealing to, because the people who buy the Lego games most likely don't have a PC that's going to run it in like a competent form. So that's really interesting. But I played the Switch version and finished it not too long ago. And this game in particular is very indicative of why I like playing games on places that aren't the Switch, because it runs at 30 frames on Switch and 60 frames everywhere else on PS4 and Xbox One and PC. And it just feels and looks significantly better running at 60 frames than it does at 30 frames. It reminds me of playing the original Lego Batman on my PSP. And that was the same game on PSP as it was everywhere else on the PS3 and Xbox 360, which is insane. But it ran at 30 frames per second, just like it did everywhere else. And it looked a little worse. But anyway, Lego DC Supervillains is another Lego game, and it will surprise absolutely no one in that respect. It is the fourth DC superhero Lego game, and it's exactly like the previous handful, where you've got the open world that you run around in, and then you've got the linear levels that you play. And I feel like with this entry in particular, at least for me, it's starting to show its age, at least in the story sections, because the linear A to B story levels are exactly the same as they have been in the past 12 years since Lego Star Wars, the first Lego Star Wars. And I haven't played every single one of these games. They come out like two or three of them a year, which is insane. They came out with Lego The Incredibles 4 months ago.
Yeah,
and they are already putting out this game. That's crazy. And kind of their very rote formula is probably how they're able to pump these games out so quickly. And I haven't played every single one, but it's still starting to wear out its welcome for me. But it's mainly the story stuff that I can't do. But the character interactions are fantastic. The level of polish is great, as are all Traveler's Tales Lego games. And I feel like that's kind of how they've skirted by with, I think this is like the 24th licensed Lego game that's uses the same formula, which is crazy. And they're still doing it. And there's enjoyment to be had for sure. I mean, you can have a lot of fun playing this with your kid or whatever, enjoying a nice afternoon of a bunch of supervillains, having a bunch of mischief, and creating your own character that has powers that are customizable. The character customization is actually pretty great. But yeah, for someone like me who plays a lot of, very hefty single player focused stuff, Lego DC Supervillains didn't do much for me.
Yeah. So when you have the characters interact with each other, do they actually talk, or do they have like scripted lines? Or
they
is
do.
Really?
Yeah, as of
that started changing, right? I mean, like, because I remember originally, like, they would just have kind of silly cutscenes, but no like actual talking, right?
Yeah. As of 2012, with Lego Batman 2 DC Superheroes, they now have spoken dialogue in the games, and Lego Batman 2 had original voice dialogue. And then for like some of their licensed properties, like Lego Lord of the Rings, they just had this really bad sounding audio ripped from the movies, which was really weird because it sounded like they just took like a rip of audio from someone recording it in the movie theater. It sounded really bad, but they've gotten away from that, and all their originally voiced stuff is fantastic. All the voice acting and the DC stuff has been really good.
Oh, wow. I didn't realize that's 2012 already. Wow, that's crazy. It doesn't seem that long ago. But...
Yeah, and I think they've had voiced characters ever since.
Wow. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I see your point. I mean, I liked the Marvel ones, and I liked the Batman 1 and 2. I haven't played the third Batman one. Mm-hmm. And I enjoyed the Indiana Jones one. I don't know. I think I played the Adventure Continues, where they have the movie that should not have been named, right? Or should not be named. Mm-hmm. But I really liked the Star Wars ones, and then I guess, and the Harry Potter ones are really good. Oh, Harry Potter's also coming out on Switch, by the way, the Harry Potter collection. So at the end of this month too. Yeah, it is interesting how much they really come out with those games in a year time.
Yeah, back in the day when I first played Lego Star Wars, I was blown away because I love Star Wars. I loved Legos. I wanted a Star Wars video game, and I just devoured that game. I think I played it in like one day at a friend's house,
And
and
you
I
were like, what,
loved it
9
so
or
much.
something like that?
Yeah, I was 9 in 2005. You nailed it, Roger.
You really were.
But yeah,
weren't
I
you?
mean,
You really were.
I might have been. I was.
You really were?
Yeah, I was 9.
Oh my gosh.
That's hilarious. But yeah, I loved the first few Lego Star Wars games, and I couldn't get enough of them. Whereas now it's kind of like, I've played a lot of them, like Lego Lord of the Rings, a couple of Lego Batmans, Lego Harry Potters, Lego Jurassic World, and I'm to the point where I just pick and choose which Lego games I play based on what property it is. So like Lego The Force Awakens I picked up just to kind of tap into that Lego Star Wars nostalgia that I have, and I enjoyed it because of that. But yeah, these games come out so fast that you might as well just pick and choose whichever one you're most interested in.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. Where can people read your review for that?
Yeah, it will be up very soon on the New Game Network. So if you go to the newgamenetwork.com, you should see it.
Nice. Thanks, Christian. So the game that I've been playing and that I reviewed is Crayola Scoot. So thank you for Outright Games for providing the review copy for that for us. And I have to say, when I got that game, I was like, Crayola Scoot, what is this? Like Crayola, like it just sounds like a kiddish kind of game. But man, this game is really good.
That's awesome.
I really love this game. Being a Tony Hawk fan, and I loved the original Tony Hawk series. Tony Hawk kind of fell off the band, or I fell off the Tony Hawk bandwagon, I guess. Because I don't know, it just didn't seem the same as the original ones. But this one, oh man, like, I don't know, they just seem to capture that Tony Hawk feel. Except with scooters, which is cool. Do they call them scooters? I don't know. My daughter has one, so yeah. Although I'm a little worried now that she's seen this, she's like, oh, I think I could do that. Yeah, I know. Like, oh, no, you can't.
It's going to be doing front flips off half pipes, right?
Yeah. But in this game, you create your own character, and then you go through a tutorial, and they teach you like the ropes of how to play the game, and then like a couple simple tricks, and then the world opens up to you, and the premise is that you're competing in events, and you earn, in those different events you earn fame, and then once you hit a certain level, so you fill up, like it's like leveling up a character. Once you hit the next level, then you're challenged by a boss to a game of Scoot, which is like a game of horse. And you go back and forth. The boss or the legend starts it off by setting the score, and then you have to beat that score, and if you don't, you get a letter. If you beat the score, then they have to try to beat your score, and it goes back and forth that way.
So it's Need for Speed for kids.
Oh, I've never. Is there a Need for Speed version like this too?
Well, I mean the old school Need for Speeds. That's basically you leveled up by increasing your street cred, and then once you got enough street cred, you would get challenged by a boss.
Yeah. It is that way. Yeah, you are earning street cred basically on the parks. But the events, I mean, like, that's what makes this game so much fun too, is because there's all these different events that you can play in. So you can play in like Color Frenzy, where you have to paint the park in your own color, and there's all these different triggers throughout the park that you have to hit. You don't have to hit, but if you hit them, then they set off an event that will color like certain areas your color. Yeah. So that's really fun. And then once your opponents can obviously try to take that trigger from you as well, so they can go over it and do a trick and hit it and then cause the color to change to their color. So it looks like after you're done with the match, it looks like Splatoon because there's this color all over the place. And then there's like color. We define the colors. I forget what the mode of that one, but you go around the park and you try to find all the colors, the crayons throughout the park. It's kind of like not capture the flag, but it's kind of like, I don't know, like hidden items throughout the park, and you have to collect them. So it's pretty fun. And then there's tag too, so you can play tags. And all these also have team modes too, so you might be joining an event where you're playing on a team versus the enemies against your opponents. So I love this game. This game, I didn't know what to expect. And I'm just so impressed with how much this game reminded me of Tony Hawk and Splatoon for that matter. So definitely, if you're looking for a game that, when you were, like, if you're a parent and you were a kid and you love Tony Hawk and now you have kids and you want to get them into, like, a good Tony Hawk style game, this is definitely a game for you.
That's cool. There hasn't been a good Tony Hawk game in a long time.
I know. Yeah. So, So check it out. It's on the Switch right now, PS4, Xbox One, and I want to say PC as well. So that's available to you. All right. Blue, did you want to give your final thoughts on Mario Party, Super Mario Party? Because I know you wrote a review for that.
Yes, I have many thoughts on Super Mario Party. So I had family in town this week, which meant that I spent many hours playing Super Mario Party.
Nice.
And I think I had said in an earlier recording that I wasn't enjoying this one as much as previous entries because I don't want to say it's dumbed down, but it seems like they made it quite a bit easier. As far as it's really easy to get stars. You can get sometimes 2 or even 3 stars on a single turn.
Wow.
Oh.
Because the boards are very small and there's not as many opportunities as there were in previous entries to really just kind of screw over your friends. Which is, I think, is a sacred part of Mario Party.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
it's not so much in this one. And so I wasn't enjoying this one as much. And then I tried to play it with my parents, who are both in their 60s. And so then when it came time to try to explain to them how to play the games, I was suddenly kind of grateful that it was easy to explain and that the games were able to be enjoyed by just about anybody.
Yeah, that's really cool.
Yeah, it was definitely an experience that I didn't expect to have.
Did your parents enjoy playing Mario Party?
Each of them enjoyed different parts of it. Like my dad is a drummer. And so, strangely enough, when it came time to the rhythm games, he's destroying everybody.
Oh, wow.
Stuff like that. But we did uncover several things that are kind of annoying about it, too.
Yeah.
Like, for example, it's got kind of this, like, safety nanny mode built in. And so,
What?
one of the rhythm games is... in a batting cage, and it throws the balls and you hit them according to the rhythm of the song. Well, several times during that one, it would do this big full screen pop-up that said, "Oh, Mario, your swings are too big. Please be aware of your surroundings." And that's fine, I guess. Even though I know that none of us were being excessive at all. We were all just kind of sitting there playing very calmly. But it still said, your swings are too big and you need to be aware of your surroundings. But the problem is that there seemed to be no obvious way to dismiss this warning. And the game didn't pause. It kept going. But none of us could see what we were doing because it was too busy scolding Mario. And so the only way that it would go away was when the game ended. And that happened at least 5 times. And it happened to each of us that was playing. It happened to me. And I'm like, okay, there's got to be a way to dismiss this warning. And I never did find one.
No.
So
out of curiosity, though, Blue, when you started this game up, did it ask you, did you ever purchase a Wii U?
No, I never did.
It was like, maybe this is Reggie's way of saying, yeah, I'm going to get you. I'm going to get you good.
Oh my gosh.
I'm sorry, Reggie. I just never wanted a Wii U. Sorry. So that was irritating. And then as far as the boards, like I said before, the boards are they're small. So you just end up going kind of in circles, which is not very exciting. And there's only 4 of them. So that's not very exciting.
Yeah.
And then, so then when people get bored of the boards pretty quickly, then you go searching out the other game modes. And so, for example, there's one where you play cooperatively, going down a river rapid course.
Yeah.
And so everybody has to work together to steer around the obstacles, and then you have to hit the balloons to get to play the mini games. Mm-hmm. But the problem is that the mini games are all the 4-player cooperative games, but there's not enough of them to get you through the whole course. So if you're successful and you don't run out of time, because you play until you run out of time, but if you're successful, getting more time along the way, then you make it to the end of the course, but there's not enough 4-player cooperative mini games to get you to the end of the course without having to repeat the game several times.
Oh no.
And it's like, really? Did you just not?
That's not a good look.
Did you just not plan this out and expect that people would make the whole way? That just seems like a really huge oversight.
Yeah.
And then there's a room, I don't know, it's like Toad's sports room or something where you can play, I think you can play baseball and you can play tennis or that kind of stuff. But so we went into that room and everybody's like, oh, baseball, this is going to be so fun. And then you can't play it on your TV. You have to take it out of your dock and put it on the table and play it that way. Oh. And everybody was like, what? No, I'm not doing it then. And nobody wanted to play it now. Oh. And so it just kind of seems like it's not, I don't know what's the term I'm searching for. It's very fixed in its ways. Like you have to play with the Joy-Cons and you have to only swing this little amount and you have to only like play baseball by taking it out and putting it on the table. I don't know. It's like, just let us play. Stop getting in the way.
That's really weird. And you would think that, I mean, I don't know, what, this is the 11th entry into this series, right?
I think so.
The main series.
Yeah, and you would think that they would, I don't know, maybe it's because it's first entry into the Switch, but yeah, it seems really strange. Were you able to do you have more than one Switch where you could connect them together and see what that does, or no?
No, I don't.
Yeah. I'd be interested to see what that's like. Because, like, can't you make your own boards that way, Christian, or something like that? Wasn't that the whole thing?
I don't know. I know I've seen, like, you could play mini games together by laying both your Switches down and then you swipe across both of them so that they, like, connect together and then you play a game that way.
Yeah. Huh. And then online, did you get to play online at all, Blue? Is it just mini games?
I did not play online yet. Basically, what ended up happening is that everyone in my family was so unimpressed by the boards and the extra game modes that we just put it on the mini games and kept hitting random, and we just played random mini games.
Oh no!
Yep.
Oh,
so
that's too bad.
I know, and it is too bad because I have a Mario Party family. I mean, that's what we do. We all get together and we destroy each other in Mario Party. And so to have everyone in the family kind of be in agreement that, no, this is not that fun, I think that really says something.
That's too bad. What is your family's favorite? Well, what is your favorite Mario Party then?
My favorite is 7 on the GameCube.
Nice.
Yeah. Nice. So for that written review, we're going to post that up on Gamerheads podcast, if you're okay with that, Blue.
You betcha.
Okay, so we'll post that up there. And then you can also read the review of Crayola Scoot as well. And both of those will be at gamerheadspodcast.podbean.com. And then on the right-hand side is a link that says reviews, and you can read all the reviews right there. So before we go, we do have an interview coming up after the break with Underbite Games. So stay tuned for that. But I just want to let everybody know that we are on Spotify as well. So you can listen to us on Spotify now. So search for Gamerheads Podcast. And then I know that we had this little promo before, but I do want to mention this again, that the Controller Thors are now part of the Gamerheads Podcast Network. So on Wednesdays, you'll be getting new episodes from them. And then on Sundays, you'll be getting new episodes from the Gamerheads Podcast. And then Mike and I, the co-host for, or the co-host for Controller Thors, we talked about maybe doing a podcast on Fridays as well, like a half-hour show for listeners. So stay tuned for all of that. But in the meantime, you can subscribe to us on Podbean, and that's at gamerheadspodcast.podbean.com. You can also go to iTunes and subscribe there, or Google Play, and like I said, Spotify. So add us on Spotify, because that would be really cool. That's brand new for us, and I'm super excited about that. So, all right. Well, then stay tuned, and when we come back, we'll have an interview with Underbite.
Yeah.
Creativity wins in this colorful freestyle scooter championship. In Crayola Scoot, more tricks means more color, and color can change the world in impossible ways. So get ready to take on Scoot Legends in a rainbow of thrilling events, or grab 3 friends for a split-screen color clash. Crayola Scoot, coming to Nintendo Switch, Xbox One, PlayStation 4, and PC in the US on October 16th. It's time to make your mark on Scoot Park.
When the universe might be in danger, who will save the day and protect the humans? Never fear, Jedamero is here to save the day. Or, at least, Jedamero will try their best. Watch out for that building, Jedamero! Jedamero, Hero of the Universe, is a relaxing journey through the cosmos, unraveling an emotional story about a giant, indestructible robot. Rocket through a beautifully stylized procedural universe and discover the history of Jedamero while jamming to a collection of down-tempo sci-fi jams. Coming to the Nintendo Switch on October 4th and available for pre-order now. Jedamero, Hero of the Universe.
Hey, this is Roger from the Gamerheads Podcast.
And this is Mike from the Controller Throwers Podcast.
Starting the week of October 14th, you'll be able to listen to both of our shows by subscribing to one network, the Gamerheads Podcast Network.
That's right. Each Sunday, you'll be able to listen to new episodes of the Gamerheads Podcast, and each Wednesday, you'll be able to listen to new episodes of the Controller Throwers.
2 great shows under one roof.
Make sure you subscribe on Podbean at gamerheadspodcast.podbean.com, or you can subscribe on iTunes, Google Play, or wherever you get new episodes of your favorite podcast.
The Controller Throwers and Gamerheads, a great team up just like Bonnie and Clyde.
They both died.
Thelma and Louise.
No.
Okay, Sonny and Cher?
No, not that either.
Kim and Kanye?
Close enough.
And welcome back to Gamerheads. My guest this week is Cory from Underbite Games. Welcome, Cory, and thank you for taking the time for joining us today.
Yeah, thanks a lot for having me.
Oh, you're welcome. So tell us about yourself and tell us about Underbite Games.
Yeah, so Underbite Games itself has been around 5 years now. And so we've been doing everything from helping other people with games as well as making our own products. So we're pretty proud of kind of where we've gotten to. We're a pretty small place. We're currently at 6 people, and then we have a decent amount of kind of interns and people helping out here and there. But overall, I'd say we're kind of in that small to mid-size indie team.
Nice.
So. And then my background, I've been involved in 3D and computer graphics since early 90s. So pretty wide variety of different areas, everywhere from graphic design to 3D rendering to even visual effects. But the last probably 10, 12 years have been focused on game development and game graphics.
Nice. And the game that you guys just came out with is Super Dungeon Tactics. So I want to talk about that game. So the game feels like a Dungeons and Dragons session. What influenced the creation of Super Dungeon Tactics?
Yeah, we a lot of us at Underbite Games are very big board gamers as well. We're surprised how much relevant content and ideas come from board games, and they can be translated into the digital side of things. And we had some friends over at a company called Soda Pop Miniatures, and they had a board game called Super Dungeon Explorer.
Okay.
And we just got to kind of talking, and thought it'd be fun to create a digital property around those characters and in that world. So that's kind of how things got started from there. Plus, as an indie company, one of the struggles is trying to figure out what's your core audience, where do you get that initial user base. And so working with something that already existed meant we were able to utilize some of that existing work that had already been done around that property.
Nice. And one of the things that I really liked about the game, and like you said, it does remind me a lot of like a board game, is the dice mechanics in the game. Can you explain how you landed on the dice mechanics in the game?
Yeah, I mean, the board game roots were obviously a initial, starting point of an idea that popped in our heads, and a lot of people are using cards, which is kind of a common component. But as we started to look at the dice, we changed it a lot from where the board game was going into the idea of it being kind of a bonus to the round as opposed to being your 2-hit chance. And so as we looked at that, we actually, it's a lot of people probably don't notice it, but the dice are actually tied to your equipment.
Yeah.
And it really gives you kind of sums up your character in that die. So if you notice, the barbarian is heavy typically on offensive bonuses, movement, those kind of things, whereas the paladin's going to be particularly heavy on defensive mods and that kind of thing. So it's interesting. The idea was that when you roll those dice, it kind of simulates that character's personality being at that moment in combat. So it's actually there's a lot of thought that went behind that concept.
Yeah. And one thing I liked about it too was a different way of like leveling up your character was using the dice mechanics. I thought that was really neat.
Yeah. And it's as far as kind of boosting, your boost increase, and they start to have, I'd say, a greater influence over your round, but you also have more control over what that influence is.
Yeah. And the amount of equipment in this game too was, I was like, wow, this is really amazing. How did you come up with all that then too? Was that all random, or is that stuff that you built out?
It's stuff we actually built out. We there's a lot of pre-development that happened in this game. We actually started with, and this kind of goes back to those board game roots. We actually made a physical prototype of the game that it used some of the miniatures from the board game, but used our mechanics, and we were able to play through a lot of the initial game to a point where when our developers actually started coding, we knew we had a great game because we'd actually tested the board game in public already. And so
nice.
it was really fun experience to be able to work that way and work myself and the other designer working very quickly and iteratively on developing that game.
Yeah, nice. And was the story influenced then by the board game too, or is that something that you created?
Yeah, it was kind of a collaborative piece, and the story is definitely set in the kind of the world, the universe of Super Dungeon, and we kind of did an outline of some ideas for how the property or how the game would go, and then we actually turned that back over to the writers of the board game to kind of add a little bit of flair to it, and then we took it back and added our piece to it. So it's kind of a collaborative element.
Oh, neat. I really liked this story too. I think the thing that I really liked about it was that there was this overarching, like, big theme that was going on,
Mm-hmm.
but then your characters felt like just a small part of that, but like started building into like that whole story that was happening. I thought that was really neat.
Yeah, to be honest with you, that's probably been one of the most biggest controversial parts about the game.
Oh, really?
Is some people love it and some people hate it.
Oh,
And we made it so that you could to skip it if you want to, but for those that love to get into that side of this kind of game, we hope that there's enough there to draw you in and keep you moving through.
yeah. Well, being a religious studies major myself, I enjoyed the world that you created and the myth that you created behind it too. So I thought that was awesome.
Nice, thank you, thank you.
How did you come up with such a diverse cast of characters in the game? One thing that I was really impressed with was like the first 3 or 4 characters were all strong female characters. How did you come up with such a diverse cast?
Again, that's probably it comes a lot to the diversity that we had to pull from that world, and then we took that diversity of just visually of characters, and then we're able to spend a lot of time trying to make each character feel like there's a reason to pick that one. And so that was actually a tremendous amount of time, especially since each character can kind of go down 2 paths because of that the crystal.
Mm-hmm.
And so that really kind of changed things, and really provided a lot of work, but it was a very fulfilling piece, was trying to make every character feel distinct and unique.
Nice.
And it was interesting because we had some comments even on Steam where the game was at, of people mentioning the male to female ratio. And it wasn't something we thought about when we went into it, but I think we're actually a little bit heavier on the female side than on the male side, which is kind of unusual for this kind of game.
Yeah, but appreciated though. I mean, I thought that was really cool, and that's always my argument. There's not enough strong female characters in video games, so
Sure.
It was nice to see that.
Yeah.
What challenges did you have porting this game to the Switch?
To be honest, for the most part, the Switch was not a huge challenge as a platform. I think there's a little bit on the performance side. When originally the game was developed for PC, and so you've got all over the spectrum of what that can be. But then on top of that, we've got the size. So your screen when you're in handheld mode, your resolution changes, and so that's definitely a component. We actually had to come up with a patch because we thought we were right on the edge of the readability level that we wanted to be at, and we got some feedback that some people were having some trouble with it. So that was our first update. Was actually an increase in the size of the fonts, the text in the game, and we got a lot of positive response to that. So
Yeah. What's next for Underbite Games?
So yeah, this was an interesting situation for us because we launched Super Dungeon Tactics on Steam quite a while back, and then we recently came out on console. But in the middle of that, we were actually starting our second game, which is Sentinels of Freedom, and that's what we're currently working on now, as well as we still have some resources devoted to updating Sentinel or Super Dungeon. And Sentinels is another turn-based game, but we actually started from the ground up. We learned a lot from Super Dungeon, good and bad, of production and things we did and did we'd like to do better.
Sure.
And more from the back end of what our process was, that we think we could improve to be able to pack more into our production time. So the new game is superhero based. It's a lot of people have seen it at some of the shows, have said it looks very much like XCOM, but has the feel of Freedom Force. So
nice.
So it's kind of an interesting mix there. But we're doing some really interesting things with that game. A couple of the things the mechanics in there, I think, haven't been seen before. So that's one of our things we like to do, is take something that is kind of a classic gameplay, that sound footing, but then put our twist on it to make sure we're not rehashing the same game over and over again. We want to bring something new.
Sure. I'm excited. That sounds awesome.
Fantastic.
So, listeners, Super Dungeon Tactics is available on Nintendo Switch. Is Xbox as well?
Xbox, PlayStation, and PC.
Okay. Yeah, so go out and get the game. I will say, when we started playing the game, there was like 150 games in the RPG in the Switch categories. And I will say that this was such a unique game, and I loved it so much that people should go out and get this game, because it is so much different than any other tactical game you played or any other RPG game. So it's really fun.
Awesome. I really appreciate that.
You're welcome. And thanks so much for being on our show, too.
Yeah, no problem at all.
All right, thanks, listeners, and we'll talk to you next week.